Hello and welcome to the Wild World Podcast, a podcast where we talk about wildlife and animals. We talk a little bit about zoology and paleontology and a sneaky bit of cryptozoology. Well, actually, kind of a lot, more than we anticipate almost every episode. But anyway, my name is Thomas. I'm the voice from the YouTube videos and I am joined with my co-host Mika.
Hello, everyone.
Great. And how are you today?
I'm all right. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I'm all right. So the way we usually start this off is by talking about what's on our wildlife radar. So this can be wildlife we've seen or just wildlife we're sort of interested in recently. Considering the show notes, as I'm going to call them now, our sloppy Google Drive document. Considering the show notes, I think maybe you might want to go first because I'm just going to jump in on something that you have, I think.
Oh, okay. So I've seen a lot of cool wildlife recently. 2 weeks ago, I went on a train journey into the mountains. And I saw a bunch of marmots at the top of the mountain, and that was really cool.
Oh, were they friendly?
Sure. I didn't approach them.
Okay.
But one annoying thing was I also saw a chipmunk up there, and then the tour guide person on the train, she heard people saying, "Oh, look, a chipmunk." She goes, "That's not a chipmunk, that's a pika." And if you know what a pika is, well, they don't look anything like a chipmunk. Oh, well, you can look it up.
What's a pika?
They don't look... It's a mountain rodent that isn't a chipmunk.
Oh, wait, I think I've seen one, actually.
It's the inspiration for Pikachu.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Anyway, I thought that was really weird that she said that, and I didn't see one pika, but I did see one chipmunk and several marmots. And then...
Did you correct her?
No. And then last weekend, I saw a moose, and that was really great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a moose. Was it an adult?
Yeah, I think so. It was a female, though, I think, because I didn't see any antlers.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yep, and then around the neighborhood, I've seen a lot of roly-polies recently. They're out and about. And through the window of my bedroom today, I saw a tiger swallowtail butterfly, which was interesting because usually I can't recognize like insects flying outside of my window, but this butterfly was so vibrant. I just thought, oh my gosh, look what it is, especially because it's on Animal Crossing. So yeah, I was like, it's the Animal Crossing in real life.
Right. It's a dream come true.
And then finally, I didn't see this, but my dad saw it. Yeah, my dad saw it. It was a bunch of birds eating the moths. You know, the moths that are everywhere. So.
Yeah, the ongoing saga.
Yep. And the final thing, it's not wildlife I've seen today or recently, but I wanted to talk about it more later. I saw the Little Mermaid remake.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
And yeah. And it was really good.
Really?
And, well, okay. Maybe it wasn't really good. Well, you can talk about critical stuff as far as it being a movie, but as far as wildlife goes, there was a lot of wildlife in it that's really fun to talk about. Right. And I thought the wildlife parts were done pretty well. So
interesting. Yeah. I don't know. The one interesting wildlife thing I've seen in real life was I saw a hawk getting like chased by a bunch of crows. Or they were all friends, I don't know. And the hawk was leading them. But I think the crows were chasing it. Yeah, and then the other thing, mostly for the past few weeks, I've just been reading about mermaids.
Why?
Well, by the time this is out, the next video will be about mermaids. The next video on the channel. Mermaid sightings.
Oh, okay.
Topical.
Well, yeah, so the Little Mermaid, one thing I found interesting was they changed Scuttle from a pelican into a gannet. I think a gannet. Okay. And if you recall, when we were talking about what animal you'd want to bite you so that you get its powers, I did mention a gannet. And the reason they changed it from a pelican to a gannet is a gannet can spend more time underwater.
Oh.
So yeah, I chose well, I think, before.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I guess we'll talk more about that movie and mermaids and the general concept of having.
Well, yeah. Do you remember in the original Little Mermaid, though, was Scuttle a gannet or a pelican? Because I don't recall much pelican-like features.
Yeah, to be honest, I barely remember that movie at all.
Oh. Well, I'm looking at a picture now, and I mean, it doesn't look like a gannet, and it doesn't really look like a pelican either. It doesn't look like... I don't even know what that is. It's a really confusing bird, I must say.
To be honest, I don't even remember that character.
He's the one who doesn't know anything about humans, but he thinks he does. Or maybe it's a she. It's hard to tell, because in the remake, Scuttle is voiced by a female voice actor, but yeah, I don't know.
Fair enough.
So there's a lot of wildlife in The Little Mermaid.
Cool.
Like the Under the Sea song sequence has a lot of sea creatures, and they wanted to make sure that everything pictured in the sea sequences was a real sea creature, except for mermaids, But
yeah.
It's really cool. Like, they have all these really colorful, lesser known sea creatures in that sequence.
Right. Okay. So you thought it was a pretty good movie anyway?
I thought it was cool to see the creatures, and I like Halle Bailey, and what else? I mean, I like The Little Mermaid in general. I like Disney, but some things I didn't like as much were it didn't look as convincing underwater. Like, let's say you compare it to Avatar 2.
God, when will we shut up about that movie?
But no one's gonna compete with James Cameron because he was like dedicating his whole life to making sure it was all filmed underwater. That he made that his whole personality.
Yeah.
So obviously they're not going to put in as much effort as James Cameron did, so it doesn't look as
I think
convincing.
I saw a clip of the Under the Sea sequence. This might have been like before the movie came out, so maybe it wasn't finalized. It was just like a promo, like the Under the Sea song. I don't know. It just sort of looked strange to me. Like, her hair and the way she was moving looked really weird, and the way she was interacting with like the CG creatures looked kind of off.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I agree. It's not as convincing, like I said.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say they went through a lot of effort for Avatar 2, like actually getting the motion capture under the water.
But they did make the environment of the movie way more believable than the first movie, because in the animated version, you can't really tell where it's supposed to be set. It's really ambiguous, especially because you're going into it knowing the story is Danish, and then it sort of seems tropical. But this one, it's very, very clearly rooted in the Caribbean, probably like a Danish colony or some sort of post-racial utopian Caribbean islands. It's really cool because they show you like Caribbean market scenes, and the wildlife, I presume, is native to the Caribbean, and it all just seems more real in that way.
Yeah, that is a nice touch. All right. Should we move into the news? Well,
Sure.
I was going to say, you've got some exciting topics.
So as usual, I have one piece of old news and one piece of new news. So the old news...
The old news is sort of exciting, though.
Yeah. The old news is that 2 of my former professors who granted me my degree, gave me the right to call myself a biologist, they received $70 million in funding to genetically engineer the microbiome with CRISPR.
Funding is going to go towards, or this microbiome has a lot to do with tackling climate change.
Well, the microbiome has a lot of applications. I mean, microbiomes, like most wildlife is microbes. So the wild world is mostly a microbiome in some ways. And so they're just going to be looking into genetically engineering the microbiome, and the applications could be health, which is, I believe, what the funding is mostly given to them for, but also it could have an impact on climate change, pollution, and waste management.
Very cool.
So yeah, they can...
Have you reached out to congratulate them?
I don't think they're going to remember who I am. Right, so if we can engineer the microbiome, we could help people with illnesses, or we could help the ocean process the microplastics, or we could keep cows and other livestock from producing as much greenhouse gas.
And
so
that's a lot of money for funding. I presume this is a big project.
Yes, I believe several universities are collaborating.
Well, and do they have like a rough time frame?
I don't really know. I don't even know what their goal is. Like I said, it has lots of applications, but I don't know what they're going to specifically be doing with this funding.
Will you move on to another story, or is there anything else you want to discuss?
I think yours are related. So
Yeah.
do you want to do yours both together now or after my second one?
It's up to you.
Oh, okay. Sure. I'll do my second one now then. Okay. So, do you know what the world's largest freshwater fish is and where it lives?
I thought I did.
Okay, well, what would you have guessed?
I thought it was a type of sturgeon.
Oh, where?
In some river in Russia.
Oh, well, you could be right. It could be just a weirdly worded article, but according to this article I read, the world's largest freshwater fish is the giant freshwater stingray in the Mekong River. It was found last summer. The previous record holder for largest freshwater fish also lived in that river.
And what was the previous one?
A 293 kilogram Mekong giant catfish.
Because the sturgeon definitely is longer and heavier, but I think it's a little ambiguous because I don't know if they're strictly freshwater. They might lay their eggs in the ocean or something. So maybe that's why.
All right. Well, anyway, so this river in Thailand, Cambodia, basically Southeast Asia, it holds many megafish. So many large freshwater fish live in this river. And so there are steps being taken now to preserve it because they want these big fish to survive.
Right.
You know? So they have to keep it clean and they have to keep people from poaching the big fish.
And wasn't there something like about the amount of dams they were building?
Yeah, maybe they're not doing that as much. Something interesting related to cryptids in this river is the locals of a fishing village nearby on the river believed in a dangerous water spirit. And this water spirit could kill a buffalo. So the researchers think that this water spirit is actually the giant stingray.
Wow, it can kill a buffalo?
Well, I mean, a stingray can kill a human, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So I guess it would attack and kill a...
I don't know. I guess when you said the first, I imagined it like eating it.
No. So if they have found this giant stingray and they've linked it to this cryptid, who knows what else could be in the river, you know?
Yeah.
I wish someone would make a video about...
kind of amazing.
I wish someone would make a video about giant river monsters.
Maybe someone will. Why don't you make one?
Nah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that was just found so recently as well. Or I guess they already knew about the species, but this was the biggest specimen.
Yeah, maybe.
Will I jump into my stories?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're sort of related. The first one is mostly just an update, but it's about, we talked about the reintroduction of cheetahs a few episodes ago. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is sort of sad news, but we talked how there was 4 new cubs born. Unfortunately, 3 of them have died, and the 4th is, I'm pretty sure, in pretty bad shape. I think it's in like an intensive care and a vet right now. Pretty sad. I don't know how much of this is, if it's necessarily anyone's fault or this is mismanagement. Seems like it may have been due to an intense heat wave, and apparently cheetah cubs have a really low survival rate anyway. I think it's like 5% or something like that. So that was a bit sad.
Yeah, it is really sad.
Yeah, this plan isn't really going very well.
I think it is probably mismanagement. I mean, your second story probably sort of shed some light on this. I think that I think it's sad how bad of a job they're doing, but I don't know how much of it is their fault.
Yeah. And then the second story, which is like sort of similar but maybe a bit more uplifting, is about how they're planning to reintroduce the first male jaguar into the Amazon in 2024. I say this is uplifting because previously attempts to reintroduce jaguars have gone quite well. In 2014, 2 orphaned females were reintroduced into the Pantanal biome, which is also in Brazil, the wetlands, I guess. And within a few years, not only did they have cubs, but then their cubs had cubs. So it's been measured as a pretty good success, I guess. Of course, the Amazon isn't the same as the Pantanal biome, but it seems like this is going to be a good idea. So this is sort of the Brazilian model, and it looks like other countries like Argentina and Mexico are planning to follow suit and do do the same or do something pretty similar.
Yeah, so again, this really highlights sort of the mismanagement in the Indian project, which is that the article talks about the specific methods of reintroduction they've been practicing for many years. So, for example, one of the biggest tragedies of the cheetah incident is that the female died in the mating, the mating incident, where the two males were in the same...
Yeah, that feels like mismanagement.
Yeah, so they wouldn't do that, I hope, with the Brazilian program. They are much more conscientious of what they're doing and why. They make sure that the animals live a really wild existence before they're reintroduced. And like they make them work for their food and sort of starve them just so that they'll hunt, because otherwise they wouldn't hunt. They're basically trying to make it really seamless for them to go into the wild. Versus the cheetahs, I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but it didn't have nearly as much detail. And these cheetahs have been in captivity for a long time, so who knows what the standards of that are. So the Brazilian story is really uplifting, I agree.
Okay, so we had a slight issue there, but I think you were just finished saying how you think they're doing a better job of with the jaguars compared to the cheetahs.
Yes. But again, like the cheetahs are more difficult because cheetahs are way more inbred, and cheetahs have a more specialized, way of life compared to jaguars.
Yeah.
And it's a different climate. So
there's a few other countries are talking about taking the model for the jaguars. I saw something about bringing them to North America. Have you ever heard of that? Reintroducing jaguars?
Well, jaguars are in North America.
Right, but they're in the Amazon too, but I mean adding more.
Right. Yeah. I haven't heard that, but I guess it makes sense.
Could be interesting. Yeah, that's all my stories. Should we move into
Wild chat?
Sure.
Okay, so today I wanted to talk about, well, I had a question which was very basic about The Little Mermaid. It was, what animal would you want to be your bottom half? But then I started thinking about like all the different aspects of this, and I read a really long Wikipedia page about it. It was a really fun deep dive into things I hadn't really thought about before. Well, first, I just wanted to talk again about the representation of sea creatures and other wildlife in the movie The Little Mermaid.
Right.
We already talked about how it seems more grounded in a place, the Caribbean, and how there are lots of real sea creatures. But I was thinking about mermaids from a biological perspective. And everyone says like mermaids are half fish, half human, right? Or they're humans with a fish tail. Yeah. But if they're fish, why does their tail move that way? Have you ever thought about that? Their tail moves up and down like a whale instead of side to side like a fish. So that could be because they're part human and it just aligns with their like skeleton, or are they really fish? This is what I want to know. They have basically their tails are cetacean tails, tails, but they have scales. So it's very strange, confusing.
It is really strange, especially since, because I was looking into a lot of mermaid sightings, and you're right, almost everyone, in fact, I'd almost go as far to say everyone, they always say that she had scales and a fish-style tail. And yet, interestingly enough, the explanation is, or what seems more likely, is that for some of these sightings, it was possibly a manatee, because a lot of times the sightings are in those areas, or around like the British Isles, they say, well, it's probably a seal, because there's a lot of seals there. None of them have scales on their tails.
But if you think about it, it would look really weird to have a human torso and then a fish tail for real, because the hips, like you'd have human hips and then they'd squish and go the opposite direction. It would be really weird. So when I was looking into this,
I guess the Fiji mermaid has that, but that's because it was sewn together.
Yeah. So when I was looking into this, I learned a lot of things. So I'm mostly just going to be like saying a lot of information, and I hope you find it interesting. But mermaids aren't all the same. There are lots of myths about mermaids. So specifically, one that caught my eye is the Alfakuyak from Inuit, Greenlandic, and Danish folklore. It's also known as the Havfrue, Havfine, Havmand, sea woman or sea man. And this is labeled under the category mermaid, but they have a furry tail, according to some sources. So that seems closer to a half seal, and it seems more biologically accurate or possible. And one source said that the Little Mermaid since she's Danish, she was actually a havfrue, which means, was she supposed to be furry? Like, was she actually half seal, not half fish? It's interesting.
Maybe. When was The Little Mermaid written?
Long time ago. I don't know.
So I've read some other accounts from like them washing up in Greenland where they were more classic mermaids from the 13th century.
It was written in 1837, published in 1837. So yeah, again, my overarching question is going to be, if your bottom half was an animal, what animal would you want it to be? So please be thinking about that while I continue talking about, the world of hybrid animals. So there are lots of examples in mythology and pop culture. People who are partly goat, part horse, part spider, part scorpion. So goat, I'm thinking of...
Sorry.
Goat, I'm thinking of fawns, right?
James McAvoy?
Sure. Horses, I'm thinking of centaurs.
Right.
And spiders, like in... in that Pixar movie.
Pig movie? Charlotte's Web?
Pixar movie.
What Pixar movie?
In the Monsters Inc. The boss, scary boss guy, he's like a part spider. And then scorpions, I'm thinking of the Mummy. Right? Isn't he like half scorpion?
Yeah, he's the Scorpion King.
Right. So here are some options you could have. But I was thinking, I've never seen a person with a duck half before. Like, imagine a human torso and then a duck body. So when I looked it up, I did see a few human-headed birds, but not the torso. There are also harpies. And harpies, I guess, they're more like the mermaid style, where they have a human torso and then wings and bird feet, bird legs. So if you're thinking about a hybrid animal that has the powers of a bird, usually they're not going to be part bird. They're going to just have wings, like an angel, right?
Usually, I guess.
Yeah, so when you look this up on Wikipedia, the topic hybrid animals, it has a really great system of dividing them that I never thought about before. So here are the examples. There is head of one animal, body of another. So that would be the Egyptian or Hindu gods, such as Ganesh, who has an elephant head and a human body, or, all Egyptian gods with their animal heads and human bodies. There are also human-headed birds, which
like
come up a lot in like Russian folklore. I don't think sirens are human-headed
the original
birds,
Greek sirens and ancient Greek pottery were depicted as having women's heads and bird bodies.
Oh, well, I saw a different picture that was like more of a human torso. Well, anyway, that's one category. Human, one animal head, one animal body. Then the next category is front of one animal, rear of another. That's like griffin, harpy, mermaid. Okay? Another category is body of one animal is the head of another animal. So if you think about it, that's a centaur. Because a centaur isn't just two animals, like two bodies. It's actually where the horse's head is the torso, which is very weird, actually. One thing that's really, really cool that I learned about from this is the ichthyocentaur, which is a centaur, but it has a fish tail. Or instead of having hind legs of a horse, it has a fish tail. So it's an aquatic centaur, which is really cool for me.
Wow.
There's also the kurma, which looks very goofy. I think it's a Hindu deity avatar with a whole tortoise and then a human torso as the tortoise's head. So the tortoise is like trying to float sideways, upright, and then the human head is poking out. Human torso is poking out. It's cool looking or weird looking. Then there are animals with extra parts, just extra parts. That includes angels. They have wings. Fairies, they also have wings, but the wings are sort of different. It's like bird wings versus insect wings. Then there's winged horses and satyrs, which have like a human body and then a horse tail and some other horse features. Then another category is legs and other features of another animal. So that would be a fawn,
right?
Because they only have deer legs or goat legs. They only have those legs. They don't have the whole body at all. Yeah, well, they don't have a goat body. They just have, so maybe ears as well. There's a cool thing called an adlet.
And the horns. Right.
An adlet has dog legs. It's from Inuit mythology. So it's a person with dog legs. Isn't that cute? Yeah, and then there are other combos, miscellaneous combos, such as left half versus right half.
Oh, no.
Something to think about. Snakes is hair. That would be the Gorgons. And shapeshifters. Like, they can look more like one animal at one time, and then look like more like a human or another animal at another time. Then we have the hybrids that are more than two creatures. There's the Sphinx. The Sphinx is 3 animals. It has a human head, a lion body, and then wings. There's the questing beast from Arthurian myth. Have you heard of the questing beast?
No, I haven't.
Well, it's cool. It has a snake head.
Okay.
So a huge, long snake neck, the body of a leopard, the haunches of a lion, and the feet of a deer. It's like a forest creature. And that's cool. That's really creepy. There's also the Scylla or the Scylla.
Yeah.
That's Greek. It's an incredible creature. Do you know about it?
Yeah, I always thought of it as basically a water hydra.
Well, it has so many different animals smashed together. It has the body of a woman, 6 snake heads, 12 octopus tentacles, a cat's tail, and 4 dog heads in her waist. That's goals. So, back to the question, now that we've talked about all the different kinds of hybrid animals, let's say you're going to do the more typical route, more well-known, of you have a human torso, or a human head if it looked weird to have a whole torso, and then you have your bottom half is an animal. What would you do? What animal would you choose?
A gorilla. Just my tiny head on it.
Okay, so your head on a gorilla or your torso on a gorilla?
It's my head.
Okay. That would look really bad. Why? Why do you want that?
I don't know. I want to keep all my digits and fingers and stuff. I want to keep that ability, but I would just put my torso on another animal. I feel like it would look really weird.
But you could have a human torso and gorilla legs.
Yeah, I feel like that would look worse. Because I'd have like these tiny little extremely hairy legs.
They're not tiny, they're big.
No, proportionately, aren't they like smaller? Aren't they shorter? They're kind of stubby.
I don't know, but they're strong and thick.
Or I guess if there are some legs that could make me run fast, like an ostrich legs.
Oh, that would be all right. Okay.
What have you?
But you'd look really skinny, like. What?
What are your ideas? What would you want?
I decided, I think mermaids make a lot of sense because they have a lot of benefits. For example, the Egyptian gods, they're just there. Like, they're just animal heads and human bodies for a symbolic reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't really give them a lot of powers. But a mermaid has so many powers. A mermaid has the best of both worlds. They can swim in the water. They have gills, or some way to process breathing underwater. They can swim really fast, and they can breathe on land. It's perfect. So, yeah, I would want...
I feel like you kind of cheated a bit, though.
What? Why?
Because you didn't just take the bottom half of another animal. You took all these traits of a mythological animal, like the breathing underwater and being able to walk on land and everything.
Fine, you can add a little extra traits, because that's what most of these hybrid animals have. They don't just have one half, they also have extra traits. So you can add an extra trait to your gorilla or ostrich man. That's fine. Your gorilla guy could be really good at climbing or something. And then your ostrich person could be really, like, not get thirsty a lot. I don't know.
All right.
So that's why I choose... Well, I didn't tell you what I chose yet. I just said that mermaids, out of the existing ones, seem like a really good deal. But I decided to design my own, which would be, as you might be able to guess, a plesiosaur tail, or, like, I guess starting from my hips, it would balloon out to become big like a plesiosaur and have the back flippers and the tail. And I want another extra trait to have a neck that it looks like a human neck, if I want it to be, but it can also periscope out to be a plesiosaur-sized neck.
Okay.
But still a human torso and a human face. I just really am into plesiosaur necks. You know this.
I guess.
Like,
I didn't think you
imagine
wanted one.
a creature that has the back half of a plesiosaur, the front half is a torso of a human, and then its neck is just stretched out so far, and at the end of that neck is a human face. Wouldn't that be cool?
These are all monstrosities.
And because hybrid creatures sometimes have 3 animal elements, or just extra features, if I'm allowed, which maybe I'm allowed, I don't know, it's my game, I would add wings, because wings make everything better. So now imagine this plesiosaur creature
So you'd be
can
a flying half plesiosaur?
Yes. Yeah. This is the best of all worlds. That's the best possible combination, in my opinion. Thoughts?
I think it would look very weird.
Well, can you make this
But
on AI art and add it to the video?
I don't know. AI art is really bad with plesiosaurs specifically for some reason.
Well,
anytime I try and get it to make a plesiosaur, it goes crazy.
oh well. So that's what I would choose, and that's what I thought about after reading that very good Wikipedia article that I recommend for everyone.
Okay, pretty cool.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So should we move on to Cryptid Court?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess I'll explain. Cryptid Court. Every episode we put a poll up on YouTube, and we have 3 randomly generated cryptids, and you can vote which one you would like us to debate. And whoever wins, whatever cryptid wins the poll, we will debate. One person will take the position that the creature is real and does exist, and the other person will just take the position that it doesn't exist. And our positions don't necessarily reflect our real views, but I think the debate format just makes it a little more interesting rather than us just agreeing with each other, right? Okay, and the winner of this episode's poll is the Orang Mawas, which I guess the fastest way to describe it would be like, think of Bigfoot, but in Malaysia.
I mean, if you say so.
Yeah. I mean, you could say Bigfoot is the Orang Mawas in the Pacific Northwest. But I'm just trying to think of a quick way to describe this creature. So for this episode, I'm going to try and take the position that the creature is real, and Mika will take the position that it probably isn't real, right? So I guess, can I go first?
Well, I'll say I'm taking the anti-cryptid position,
okay,
and you're taking the pro-cryptid position.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I've got 3 reasons why I think that this is a real creature. Okay, first, I think you have to look at, is it possible that this creature could exist? And I would say, yes, it is possible. All you have to do is look back at the millions of years of hominid evolution to see that we have many, many examples of bipeds, many different ones. And the thing is, fossils are pretty rare. So for every fossil we do have, there are probably many others that we don't have. And even for the ones we do have, there are probably offshoots and subspecies. So I don't think in this lineage, being a biped is particularly special necessarily. And then the other thing is large apes. Of course, a lot of people try and say that, well, it's Gigantopithecus blacki. I don't necessarily think that has to be the case. I don't really see why Gigantopithecus was a biped. In fact, I think it probably was a quadruped. But perhaps one of its descendants or another offshoot in Pongone or another hominid also developed into a large bipedal ape. I keep saying large. The description says that Orang Mawas is about 3 meters tall or about 10 feet. I will concede that humans are not very good at estimating size, and they very often overestimate. But to overestimate something at about 10 feet tall, I think it would be safe to assume that at the very least it's significantly bigger than a human.
I saw 6 feet.
And by significant, I mean, you saw 6 feet?
Yeah, that's what the description I read said, 6 feet, so.
I saw between 6 to 10 feet.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe. Well, anyway, my point is that it's probably bigger than a human, but I don't know if it's actually 10 feet tall. Anyway, yeah, so I think there are many examples of bipedal apes in our history, and of course we're bipedal apes today. And apes can definitely get large, like in the past, Gigantopithecus, or even today, we have gorilla, which are quite big too. So I think having one of these creatures, I mean, first of all, that a large bipedal ape existed in our history, I think is very likely. And I think it's somewhat likely that even in modern times, they live with us. The second thing would be location and habitat. So is this a suitable location for this animal to live? I would say yes, it is. My reasoning for this is that if you look at the jungles of Johor, Malaysia and southern Malaysia, or even zone in a bit more if we look at, let's say, a national park, like Endau Rompin is a large national park, one of the oldest tropical rainforests in the world. It has a lot of biodiversity and it supports a lot of large mammals, including tigers, leopards, elephants, tapirs, deer, and many other things. The park is, 870 kilometers squared, or 304 square miles, which is pretty big, but is that big enough to support a small population of large apes? I would say it definitely is. And my reasoning for that is if we look at gorillas, okay, let's say you wanted to go on a tour and see some gorillas, one of the most famous places to do that is a national park in Uganda called the Mahinga National Park, which is home to 100 mountain gorillas, yet it is only 33 square kilometers. So 33 square kilometers is enough to support 100 mountain gorillas, okay? And compare that to 870 square kilometers. And the other thing I wanted to bring up really quickly about that is that I was looking on the website about, you can do the tours to see the gorillas. You can go on treks in this 33 kilometer squared national park with 100 gorillas. And you could get lucky and your guide could show you some gorillas within 30 minutes. But sometimes it takes up to 7 hours. 7 hours to find a gorilla out of 100 in this small national park. And the other thing about the national park in Malaysia, the Endau Rompin National Park, is that during monsoon season, it's closed. So no people can go there. So for 5 to 6 months of the year, so half the year, this very large national park has no outside disturbance. There's no one in there. So I think it would be a very appropriate habitat for this ape. And then the third point is, I think it's possible that this creature could exist. I think it's good habitat, but why? It's because it's possible. What makes us think that it actually is there? Well, I'd say there are many sightings. People might say, well, anecdotal evidence isn't evidence. All right, fair enough. But we also have many footprints from the area, and they're quite large. And while there were some famous photos allegedly printed in a local newspaper that are hard to find online, but I did find a 2006 BBC News report where they went there to investigate, and they found large footprints running parallel to a river. So something is leaving those footprints. Really quickly, the final point is that people are seeing something. There's something leaving footprints. I've seen some people say, oh, well, it's sun bears. But there's a few problems with that. Sun bears are the smallest bear species. That even the big one, so a big male stands between 4 to 5 feet if it's standing on its hind legs, which is half the size of the upper limit. The second thing is none of the physical characteristics described sound like a sun bear. It has a flat, upturned nose like a gorilla, according to accounts. It has a bony brow above its eyes like a gorilla. It also emits a weird scent or a bad scent when it's startled, also like a gorilla. And it also has very big lips, so not really like a sun bear. And its behavior is not like a sun bear either. A sun bear is mostly diurnal and spends most of its time up in trees. The orang mawas is mostly seen at night and is seen walking or standing, I guess. I have a little more to say, but I talked for a long time. Do you want to try and debunk me?
Yeah, you actually seem to have come with a very good argument prepared today. So good job. Right. So I just want to say that if you look up mawas on Wiktionary, it seems to mean either attentive or orangutan. In fact, some dialects do use mawas just to mean orangutan. So this could just be another term for orangutan. To get into what all these words mean, orang means human, utan means forest, and mawas could mean attentive. So it could just be another word like the attentive humanoid versus the forest humanoid. There's also another term for this cryptid, which also starts with orang dalam. That means deep human. So I guess like deep in the forest. So what I'm going to say is that it's just an orangutan. It's just a big one. And in some cases, if it's not, it could be a sun bear because I saw that it's supposed to have black fur. and sun bears have black fur. You said they don't have any of the same characteristics, but they do. So
well,
I
that's
think
one
it's just a
thing.
case of you're just in the forest. It's like really thick jungle, the jungle of Johor, and you see something that seems like it's standing on two legs, and you think, oh, what is that? And you estimate a size that is way bigger because you're not even close to it, and you're scared, and it's just an orangutan or a sun bear. So.
Okay, well, there's a problem with what you just said. I'd like to point out to you.
What?
You said, all right, it's either orangutan or sun bear. What, do orangutans have black fur?
No, but I'm saying that's another thing. Like maybe it's a orangutan that does happen to have black fur, like a weird one, or maybe there's a lot of murkiness in a jungle, so you're not gonna see everything maybe as clearly as you think you are.
Okay, but I mean, an orangutan and a sun bear spend most of their time in trees, and all of these sightings are this creature walking around on 2 feet. The most famous sighting, or the most famous modern sighting, comes from 2005 when pond workers saw 3 of them. So they saw 2 adults and 1 child. So all walking past on in bipedal locomotion, which I think it's unlikely that you get 3 sun bears doing this. This is in daytime as well. So somehow they misidentified 3 bears for 3 giant apes. And this also is what prompted that the local government investigation in 2006 that allegedly produced the photos of the footprints. So you thought they saw 3 sun bears? Also, sun bears are usually solitary, apart from like a mother and a cub.
Maybe they saw 3 orangutans.
And they were all walking upright? And these just happened to be 3 that all had dark hair?
Is that what it says, that they all had dark hair?
I believe so.
I don't know. Could just be... Who knows? Well, okay, let's see. If you look at a picture of orangutan, they can walk. Yeah, you can look it up and find pictures of orangutans walking.
3 at the same time, even a baby? I'm not saying they can't walk. I'm saying
well, apes have culture. They have learned behaviors from each other. So maybe one of them learned how to walk, and they were all just playing around, testing it out.
So do you think they saw 3 large orangutans with different shade of hair that were all walking upright?
Yes, but in a more softer way, you could say that they saw through the shaded canopy of a jungle, which made the fur appear darker. They saw 3 orangutans, in a sort of upright position. That's what I'll say.
I don't know about that. And what about the footprints they found? And that when they did their search, the local government, they found 18-inch long footprints.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Those are pretty big, but haven't they found that most footprint sightings like that have been faked?
Have they? What's your source on that?
I don't have a source. I was just wondering if they have. Because I know there was a time when they were faked, right? Big footprints.
Which footprint? What are you talking about?
Just big footprints in general. Haven't they been faked before?
Bigfoot footprints?
Yeah.
Yeah? What makes you think that these footprints have been faked?
I'm just saying they could have been faked. It's not like the end-all be-all of evidence. If you can fake it once, you can fake it again.
I mean, I guess so, but what makes you think that they were faked?
If
the local government hired researchers to go out and find... I mean, in the BBC one, they were looking for footprints for a long time, and then they just kind of eventually found them beside a river, and it was like they were trekking through the jungle in the middle of nowhere. So someone went there, preemptively put the footprints there, and hoped that they would find them.
Could have, because if they knew that the study was happening and the government has put so much effort into this, someone could have paid someone to do it, or some just random person could have learned about it and done it as a prank. There are lots of reasons why.
What about the news
learning
report?
About this? What about the news report?
Why would they who faked them that time?
Sorry, which news report again?
The BBC one.
About
the BBC is separate from the local government one. Yeah.
Well, again, it could be we have these hotshot filmmakers here. Either the government wants to make it more intriguing to visit their country, or, like I said, a random person thought it would be fun to just fake it. There's a lot of reasons why someone would fake it. So.
Yeah, I don't know how you'd plan it so well that people would stumble upon it.
I don't know. Maybe they knew the route that the filmmakers were going to take, or the investigators.
Maybe. I don't know. I think the biggest thing for me is I don't think the description really fits an orangutan. And also the orang mawas is supposed to be mostly nocturnal. Orangutans are diurnal.
Maybe these are freaky ones who have behavioral issues, and that's why they're always walking, and the other orangutans think they're weird, so they have to.
So these are freaky,
forage at
extra big
night.
orangutans that like to walk on 2
Yeah.
feet and have
Yeah,
darker fur.
they're the outcasts.
Okay. The last thing you said was that maybe they're outcasts, right?
Yeah.
And what I said was, imagine if speciation could occur, and then there'd be a different species.
Well, it's only a few little individuals.
We'd have to give them a new name.
It's only a few individuals. I don't know if they've been speciated
Or maybe
yet.
they already have a name.
I don't know if they've been speciated yet. And
really?
You saying
the sightings have gone back hundreds of years.
You saying maybe they already have a name. Again, I want to get into the linguistic aspect of it, where mawas is already the name for a generic orangutan. So it's not like you can just say, oh, because there's a name, it proves that, or yeah, they have a name, they're a separate creature. So in some cases, it is just a different name for the same creature. So maybe they don't already have a name because they're the same.
And what I'm saying is that there's a lot of these sightings, they don't sound like an orangutan to me.
Well, what I'm saying is your speciation theory has issues, and just because there are a few weirdos doesn't mean that they're a new species.
Okay, well, I mean, there has to be more than a few weirdos if the sightings go back for more than 100 years.
Yeah, but 100 years isn't really evidence of a new species.
Well, the first Western records is like mid-1800s, I think.
And you also have to think about how humans really love the idea of a giant ape in the forest. I mean, in every culture, there's this idea. I think it might just be a natural inclination of us to see something, and in our minds, we change what we remember, and we add more human characteristics because that's just human nature, and yeah.
Well, the description of the face sounds more like one of the other great apes to me.
Well, could be orangutan face, though.
Do orangutans have that bony ridge above their eyes?
Yeah, they do. They have a pretty bony ridge there. Very expressive eyebrows.
I know. Well, I've said my bit.
Yeah, actually, I do really hope that it's real because it sounds cool, and it does seem like it is a great place for it to be because the jungle is dense, and it could just be sort of, if orangutans can survive there, why not a slightly or a larger one that's also related to humans and orangutans is basically an ape. But as the anti-cryptid stance in this, I just have to say that humans can blow a lot of things out of proportion in their memories, and it could have been a sun bear or a big orangutan, and it's hard to see in the jungle.
Could have been a sun bear.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that could explain this.
All right. Well, if you feel like it, you can write in the comments below who you think won. I think last episode, I guess you have to be crowned the winner because the only people who commented on that, I think 2 or 3 people, and they all said they sided with you. Actually, no.
Well, one person said that I was being really mean and rude because I was dismissing people's experiences.
Do you have any response, or we just move on from that?
Well, I'm supposed to be I'm not going to say a devil's advocate here, but I'm supposed to be adamantly on one side, so it's not my job to respect everyone's sightings as fact when they might not be.
Yeah, that's the thing about this is that, we're trying to be on opposite ends of the spectrum just to try and make it more interesting. It's not necessarily the views that we have.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing about the orang mawas before we finish.
Sure.
Another word for it is hantu jarang gigi, which means snaggle-toothed ghost. I really like that.
That's pretty fun.
So, yeah.
Okay, I guess.
I hope the snaggle-toothed ghost is real.
Yeah, me too. Okay, should we move on? Okay.
Yeah, so let's move on to email submissions.
Sure. If you want to send an email to the podcast, you can send it to thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com. thewildworldpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. All right. So here's our question today. It's from Grant. He says, "Hello, I love your videos. Keep up the good work. And you're way more humble than all the other YouTubers." What do you think about that?
Why? I don't know.
No, you're supposed to say, "I know I am." Isn't that great? Anyway, my favorite video is the thylacine sightings.
Cool.
So, question is, if you saw the Yeti, what would you do? Run? Do the bear strategy? Or would you try to hide?
Oh, wow. I think if I saw a Yeti, I'd be so shocked I'd just like freeze and I probably wouldn't be able to move. The way, Grant, you said that question, I presume you mean if it's like trying to attack you, maybe?
I
The way it
guess. Or
you say.
maybe you're just going to be so terrified you want to get away anyway.
Yeah. I don't think you should run. I don't think you'd be able to outrun any wild animal. I don't know if you'd have enough time to hide. So I guess the bear strategy is that we make yourself look big and walk away calmly. Maybe that's your best bet. I know for gorillas, Diane Fossey said you should never like run away when they charge.
What should you do?
I think you're just supposed to hold your ground and maybe seem kind of small and pretend that you're just like eating grass and stuff.
Yummy. Okay.
What would you do if you saw a Yeti? Would you try and fight it?
I would take a picture.
Yeah. I'd be so excited. I'd just get like a blurry picture of my shoe or something.
Well, I'd have my photo on live mode, and I take a bunch of pictures. I wouldn't just take one. I'm not someone who's just used a camera for the first time, you know?
I'd put blur to max. I'd shake it a bit and I'd take one photo.
Well, of course, no one would believe you if it wasn't blurry.
No.
Yeah, if I saw a Yeti, like, I would just calmly observe it and take a picture. And if it starts, like, trying to attack me for some reason,
in all the accounts I've read, they're usually peaceful, though. They usually flee from humans.
Yeah, I guess I would just be really quiet and, like, non-confrontational.
Yeah.
And just hang out, you know, quietly.
Yeah, same. Just try and observe it for as long as you can.
Yeah. So that's our only question for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Grant. Appreciate it.
Now I have some comments that I want you to guess the video, and I want you to respond as well. Okay? Comments from your YouTube channel. All right. So this is sort of multi-part. First part is, this was hundreds of years ago, not modern times. If you are born after the year 2000, don't comment on the internet. This is the 30s.
What? This is the 30s.
Do you want me to... Yes. Do you have a response to this? Or can you guess what video it's from?
This was hundreds of years ago, not modern times. This was hundreds of years ago, not modern times. What?
Well, I'll give you more context. Would you like to know the parent comment? So this was a reply under a comment. So the parent comment, also written by this same person, said, whaling ships would get attacked at night because of the whales attached to the ships. The creaking of the wood ships also sounds like a whale in distress, so it would be very attractive to a giant squid looking for dinner.
Okay. Well, that is the giant squid attack video.
Yes. Right. So then someone said that's not true because squids don't attack whales. It's the other way around. So in response to that, the person said, this was hundreds of years ago, not modern times. If you are born after the year 2000, don't comment on the internet. This is the 30s. Thoughts?
Okay, I don't really understand what that means.
And also, is this true? Would a large squid attack a small whale? That's what the person is saying.
Well, like you said, I think it's the other way around usually, but there have been sperm whales with giant squid sucker mark scars on their skin, but that might have been trying to fight off the whale that's eating them.
Yeah, I thought that was defense.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Well, anyway, I thought that was just sort of funny. I especially love the part where if you're born after the year 2000, don't comment on the internet. Do you do you agree?
Well, I don't know. You'd be like 23 now. I think you're allowed to comment.
Okay. So this just in, Wild World says that you're allowed to comment even if you're born after 2000. So don't hold back. All right. Here's another comment. Please guess the video. It's one word and a lot of exclamation points. Clickbait! So which one of your videos is clickbait?
Is this the first Megalodon video?
No. I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
It's searching for Predator X.
All right.
Do you think it's clickbait or what?
That's a tricky word. I mean, any video you put up, you always want to make the thumbnail appealing. And is it like, where's the line for clickbait? I don't know. Do you think it's clickbait?
No.
I mean, I guess it has a modern day diver beside Pliosaurus funky. So maybe it's like misleading as if someone's searching for it today and not the fossils. But
You should feel ashamed.
I apologize.
And last comment is just cute. It says, giant isopods are freaking adorable. Do you know what video this is from? Do you remember when you talked about giant isopods?
The water monster video?
Mm-hmm. So,
by water monsters.
Yeah, do you agree? Do you agree that giant isopods are freaking adorable?
Yeah, I do agree. I think they're lovely.
They are lovely. They're so nice.
They're nice.
They're like...
friendly little fellas.
Yeah, they're just trying to get along.
Yeah, and they definitely aren't dangerous. We both can confirm.
Mm-hmm. So, that's all for today.
That's all for today. Thank you very much for listening or watching.
Yeah, we had a lot of technical difficulties, so sorry if it sounds bad.
Hopefully you won't notice. I do a good enough job putting it together, which I probably won't. But if you were able to enjoy it anyway, please, feel free to leave a like or share the podcast around.
Yep. And if you have evidence of mermaids or other hybrid creatures, if you know what hybrid creature you'd want to be, if you live in Malaysia and you've seen a big creature walking on two legs, please comment and let us know.
Okay, I guess we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.